I not called Sash, and if she wasn't the one to say, look, you should go to the hospital, if the doctor is saying you should go, I never would have gone. And I later found out from several doctors that if I did go home that night, chances are I would have passed away. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. My name is Nina. In today's video, I just wanted to talk to you about some things that were going on with me and update you on how I've been doing. And Sash and Giselle are off watching a movie. If you follow Sash on Instagram, then you probably know that I was hospitalized. Sash wanted me to have the opportunity to tell you what's going on from my perspective and share with you my own experiences, what happened and what I went through and what things are like for me now. So I just want to walk you guys through what happened. All right, so one morning in March, it was a typical day. Sash and I were driving G to school, and as I was driving, I felt a crook in my neck. And I thought that I just slept the wrong way. Didn't give it much thought, but as I was driving, the crook in my neck started getting more and more stiff. And then eventually, after we dropped G off and I was going to work, I told Sash that it felt as though my back was starting to get really, really stiff. But I still didn't give it any thought. I hadn't done anything unusual. I didn't do any exercises. I didn't lift anything heavy. I didn't do anything to make myself feel concerned. I went to work, and probably an hour after being in the office, I felt as though my feet started to hurt and my hands started to hurt. And I called Sash and I said, I'm not feeling well. She says, well, I think you should just go home. She picked me up, I went home, and I thought that I would be able to just take and leave, lay down, and I'll be fine the next day. But over time, it became almost impossible for me to walk. My feet felt like needles. My fingers felt very, very sensitive to the touch, was very sore. I couldn't get up off the couch easily. It was a struggle, and it just felt as though I had just ran the marathon and I was just so sore all over my body. My body was aching all over, but it didn't feel like I had the flu. Finally, after 10 o'clock at night, Sash and I decided that it would be best for me to go to urgent care. So there's an urgent care right down the street, and we decided to go. And I thought maybe it's just a hydration issue or dehydration issue. So I went, and Sash came home to make sure that G was fine, and I thought everything was gonna be okay. I thought they were just gonna say, here's some prescription strength Tylenol, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. And after drawing some blood and making me take a urinalysis, the doctor said to me that she felt I should go to the hospital. And I thought that she was being dramatic. I really didn't think that there was anything wrong. And initially I said, no, doctor, can I just go home? Is this something that's gonna self-correct? And she said, no, I think you should go to the hospital. And I said, well, let me call my wife and see what she thinks. And then I called Sash and I said, the doctor thinks that we should be transferred to the hospital. What do you think? And Sash says, then go to the hospital. I was transported by an ambulance. I had never been in the back of an ambulance before. It was a new experience for me. It was very scary. Again, I still thought that this was much to do about nothing. And when I was admitted, I thought I was gonna leave a couple of hours later. And it never occurred to me that I would have been there as long as I ended up staying. So at this point, Sash was trying to call me, but she couldn't contact me, and she had no idea where I was at. And honestly, I didn't even know where I was at. I just knew that I was in the hospital, and everything is happening so fast, and it's unbelievable because In less than 12 hours, I woke up thinking I just had a crook in my neck, and now I'm being rushed to the hospital. Once I get in the hospital, Sash contacted the urgent care that I had just left, and they told her where I was at. So once Sash got settled with a family friend, she met me at the hospital, and there things just happened rapidly, one episode after the next. At this point, probably around 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, I just felt my legs completely fail me. They were in such pain and agony. They didn't hurt, it was excruciating. Never felt anything like this, and I couldn't move them. I couldn't lift my legs up. I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't shake them. All I knew was that I felt a throbbing, agonizing pain. And I kept asking for some help, some kind of relief with my legs. It just felt like it was a bone-crushing experience. And I was panicking because I don't know where this is coming from. I never had this pain before. I didn't have an accident. I didn't have an injury. So all of this was just, the panic was just taking over. And finally, at some point, they gave me morphine. I believe they gave me morphine. And I'd never been on morphine before, and I heard so much about morphine. I've heard a lot of jokes about morphine. Morphine, for me, my legs were in such pain that the morphine just felt like candy. Didn't do anything. So at some point of the first night, I started to feel very tired. I felt very faint. Things were starting to look blurry. And I just remember hearing a doctor say, "Do you know where you are? Do you know your name? Do you know what today is?" And I was barely able to answer those questions. I just felt so tired. I just remember seeing a lot of people in the room. And at this point, Sash is still there, and she's to my right. But I just remember seeing a lot of people there, but there was just one nurse in particular who really stands out. And the entire nursing staff and all the doctors were amazing. They were very hands-on, very patient. Again, I was not a calm patient. I was hysterical. I was scared. I was frightened. Everything is happening so fast. So while all of this is going on, they're asking Sash a lot of questions. They're asking if I had traveled anywhere recently, which I hadn't. They're asking her if I had eaten anything unusual, which I hadn't. They were asking her if I had any unusual physical activity. Did I do any heavy lifting? Did I do any drugs? And I don't drink alcohol, and I don't do drugs. I don't smoke cigarettes. So none of that applied to me. And this is right when COVID started to become a thing. So my body temperature started to drop, and it didn't feel like it was dropping, but I can hear the team of medical staff saying her temperature's dropping. And they were scrambling, and they didn't know what to do. And at this point, Sash comes up to my hospital bed, and I'll never forget, she asked me if I can hear her. And I could. Even in a room full of people, I know her voice always stood out to me. And then after that, she asked me to stay with her. And I think my response was, "I'm trying." I think she said, "What do you mean you're trying?" The whole time, Sash just stayed calm. Sash was inconspicuously to the side of my room, and it's not like on the TV show where you have an angry, frightened family member that's in the way of the staff performing a procedure and they forced them to leave. Quite the opposite. The team told her, "Don't worry about us, just stay there." And they were honest. They said, "We don't know what to do." My temperature was dropping. And at that point, Sash told me to stay with her. And there was just nothing that I could do. After that, I had an experience that I will never forget. They placed a blanket over me, like a heavy, heavy, heavy blanket, what they call a bear hug. And it's basically a very heavy, I'm talking about maybe 20 pounds of a blanket that is just it's a massive electric blanket that warms you. Well, actually, it heats you up, and you have to keep it on, and the purpose is so that your body temperature will go back to 98.6. It was very heavy, it was extremely hot, very uncomfortable, but again, I couldn't move. Again, the purpose is to get my temperature, first to stop it from dropping and to get it at a healthy level. And I kept begging Sash to get the blanket off of me. I tried to kick it off, I tried to push it off, but I didn't have the strength to do it. And the nurses said that under no circumstances can the blanket be moved. It's what I need to survive. And this is not something that stays on for a couple of minutes. It has to stay on for hours and hours and hours. And probably after hour number 1, I begged Sash to please get this off of me. Just let me have a couple of minutes. And she said no. She said, no, you have to keep it on. And I thought if she saw me cry, that she would take the blanket off for just a little bit. She wasn't budging. And I didn't know that she had her own private conversations with nurses and doctors, and they told her she needs tough love. You cannot take this blanket off of her. If she wants to live, no matter what she says, she has to keep this blanket on. And I didn't know this. So I was very upset with Sash for not taking this suffocating blanket off of me. And so at one point, Sash went into the hallway to go talk to the nurses. And so by myself, I was able to muster enough strength to be able to get my leg from underneath the blanket. And that felt so good because my leg was getting a little bit of cool air. And when Sash came back in the room and she saw my leg just kind of dangling off the bed, she was very pissed. What she said was, "What are you doing?" She said, "What are you doing?" And I felt so accomplished because it took a lot for me to move my leg. And she just told me that I have to keep this blanket on. I don't even want to call it a blanket. It was like this weight of fabric. The air conditioning couldn't be running in the room. Everything had to be hot to get my temperature up. And I kept trying to negotiate with the nurses, and they weren't budging. This was happening on a Wednesday. We had plans to go to New Orleans for the weekend. And I still, in the midst of all of this, thought that I was going to be able to go to work the next day and then go to New Orleans. And then the next day happened,